Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, let's just stop it right now.
And some of you may still feel a type of way that 9 didn't play in the preseason, but Terry Fontenot has some words of reassurance.
And last but not least, and for the culture, do you believe now?
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. ATL Day, this episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Also, I want to let you know that ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up in 10 minutes, did Terry Fontenot ease my concerns? Ooh, we'll talk about that. But first, I'm at the point now where, if anyone is even mentioning Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna Jr.'s name in the same sentence, I might be inclined to just to fire off in their stuff because that's how I'm feeling right now because Ronald Acuna Jr. homered in all 3 wins of the series. Obviously, they win the series 3-1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think that when you think about his play, the way he stepped up, the way he just came out and just executed night in and night out in those first 3 games, you got to sit up there and say to yourself, okay, national media, it's time for y'all to stop trying to push this Mookie Betts stuff.
Yeah, the narrative is kind of getting old. And don't get me wrong,
Indeed.
Mookie Betts, especially game 1, he had a strong game 1.
No doubt.
We know that he was the reason that the Dodgers came within 1 run of beating the Braves. However, to your point, 3 wins in a 4-game series and Ronald Acuna Jr. not only homers, but let's not forget the steals. And let's not forget the solid base running and the hits that put others in position to score. All of those things that he did mattered. And like you said, he did it on the biggest stage. I mean, you're in Mookie Betts' house.
Right, yeah.
Right? So
they haven't had that much success in the past 10 years.
Exactly. You're in his house and you were a critical part of your team making a statement, a critical part of the Braves now being 6 games ahead of the Dodgers. So when it came down to it, again, taking nothing away from Mookie Betts, but when it came down to it and it was time for Ronald Acuna Jr. to make a statement, he made a statement, he made history, and he made sure that his team walked away not just with even a split of the series, but walked away with a win of the series.
After that first game, I think the Mookie Betts went on stretch where he was like 0 for 8. Yeah. So he kind of understands. I'm sure he probably agrees with us as we go along. But I think the one thing I want to look back to, and I think this was key because we talked about when Darius Vines made the start against the last game against the Colorado Rockies, and Brian Snitker came out and said that, hey, we want to rest our guys up. We want to make sure that our guys are well rested for this series because I really feel like even though it's still the regular season, for a manager to make that type of move and say to himself and say, hey, this is not a regular series. This is something that is very important. If we want to be playing at home against this team in the NLCS, we got to make sure that we're well ready. And I think that was probably one of the moves that I feel like put the Braves in position to show that like they did.
Yeah. And Brian Snitker had some words as well at the end of that series that I also feel like gave us some insight into the decision he made then, but also some things that I think we're going to see in this 6-game homestand and beyond.
It's just how we've continued to play really good baseball all year. I mean, it's been a solid year. Mission's not over yet. Proud of the guys for how they come and play every day and how they prepare and the consistency in their work and the energy, everything they go. Very proud of them. We haven't accomplished anything yet.
2 statements. He said it twice. Mission not accomplished yet. We still haven't accomplished anything yet. This is a team that now has 90 wins for the fourth time in 5 seasons. And yet, Brian Snitker, after going 8-2 also on a road trip that included the Giants and the Dodgers and included, of course, the sweep of the Rockies, he's still saying, great, love what I'm seeing out of my guys, but okay, we still got work to do. And I love something that our guy who does our postcast for Braves, Grant McCauley, said earlier today on 92.9 The Game, where he's also a Braves insider. He made a great point. He doesn't see anything in this team, and I would tend to agree, and I think you would agree as well, that would say, oh, yeah, the Cardinals, they're the second worst team in the National League, if not probably in the lowest 5 of all of baseball.
Indeed, yes.
They're not going to take their foot, and these are my words, not taking the foot off the gas, but he essentially said he doesn't see that they're not going to take the Cardinals and everyone else seriously, because I tend to think this, Jarvis. I feel like the series, the 10-game road trip gave the Braves some momentum. It gave the Braves energy because we started talking about Ronald Acuna Jr., but like you said, we could have also talked about the pitching staff and how great they were. Yes, Mr. Strider did what he did, but who came and saved the day? The bullpen. So we can talk about the pitching staff in its totality and what they were able to do in that stretch as well. So I think that what I like about this is, other than the swoon post All-Star break that made all of us shiver, we were a little shook. Let's all admit it.
Got a little cold in them boots.
Other than that, the Braves have quietly, and when I say quietly, meaning they've just been going to work, right? They've just been going to work. Raisel Iglesias even snuck up on us and was named the closer, the reliever of the month. And I'm thinking to myself, what? But I can recall one day I felt like I was saying he had 23 saves. Then the next day I was saying 27. Then the next day I was saying 28. So quietly, Jarvis, all of the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. Everyone is taking seriously the importance of functioning on all cylinders as they head to the postseason.
Yeah, and it when you think about the leadership that Brian Snitker has shown, and it's kind of the exact opposite of what we've seen from the Los Angeles Dodgers, because when Dave Roberts decided to take Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman out when they were down 6-0, it was like, what are you doing? Why would you do something like that? And then you have the whole issue, domestic violence issue with Urias. Like, those are some of the things that these teams are going in opposite directions, I feel. So for them to be able to come in prepared like they did, and now on the back end, still having a conversation. Hey, we haven't done anything yet. We're still working towards, getting where we need to be. Yes. And I think that is just consistency, and it's talking about good timing. And I think like the Dodgers are going through the exact opposite of that. And to be honest with you, I don't care. And I'm glad that the Braves are where they are right now, too, T.
Indeed. And I think that even to your point, calling up Michael Soroka at the right time. I know a lot of people were saying, okay, when is he coming back? When is he coming back? But I do think that, again, it goes back to, as you mentioned, the strategy of Brian Snitker and what he was able to do in the 4 pitchers that he put up against the Dodgers. He knew, okay, the Cardinals series is actually probably the right series to bring him back because, okay, let's face it. I mean, they've had their fair share of success against Miles Mikolas, right? So I don't think the Braves are scared of anybody, but I darn sure don't think they're scared of Miles Mikolas, right? And I think this is the perfect time to bring Michael Soroka back up. Yes, we know that when he last pitched 4 runs over 6 innings against the Brewers, we get that. But on the same token, he has been fairly solid in his AAA assignment. And again, the Braves have a situation where whether it's Kyle Wright, Ahiri Adrianza, who of course is going to play high A Rome tonight, first rehab assignment, or Michael Soroka, they have the good fortune of not having to rush guys because what? The words you just heard from Brian Snitker, he's looking at October and what this is going to look like. He's not overlooking September, but he is keeping an eye on October for what they want this team to do.
And we will keep an eye on the Braves for continue to do what they do. And I love having a set expectation for a team and how they should play night in and night out, and they living up to it each and every time. Even if they lose, it's still some good things to pull from it. So yeah, we would definitely keep an eye on that. Guys, I want to let you know that this episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Guess what? It is the number one sportsbook in America. And guess what? For all you new customers, right now, you can go bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So, hey, you want to bet a couple of dollars on the Falcons against the Carolina Panthers? You're going to get $200 in bonus bets. So go ahead and do that right now because, if you want to try to make some money, I would put some money on this game. First game of the season, rookie quarterback and Bryce Young, a little shaky offensive line, Yeah, I think that you should go ahead and do that right now. So now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from the spreads, the player props, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. LOCKDEDON. FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NFL.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And you're right. This might be the game that you want to bet on because there is an absolutely good chance, if not great chance, that something good is going to happen in the bins for week one. And I think part of that is, Jarvis, that this team is looking to make a statement. Arthur Smith, just like we heard from Brian Snitker, has not shied away from the expectations that he has for this team coming out of the gates. And nor is Terry Fontenot. He had an interesting sit down with the Falcons.com analyst, reporter, and our friend to the show and friend overall, Tori McElhaney. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he gave insight into as far as how they wanted to prepare QB1 to be ready for game one was really great to hear because, of course, there's been back and forth about should they have played him? Was it okay not to play him during the preseason? So on and so forth. Blah, wah, 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 right? Especially that final preseason game where I guess it had become sort of the dress rehearsal, if you will, of what you used to see back when there were 4 games. That said, you got to love what Terry Fontenot had to say about why the Falcons opted out of playing Desmond Ridder in that last preseason game and being confident they made the right call.
He continues to grow and he continues to get better in all areas of his game. And when you play that position, it's not always just about the physical talent, which we know he has physical talent. And yet we see a lot of guys with physical talent that don't quite handle everything the right way, but it's between the ears. It's right here in your chest. It's everything that he's about because there are going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be challenging moments. This season is almost like a roller coaster, and you better be prepared for that. You better be able to handle the pressure and handle the tough times, not only handle the failures, but handle that success. When you're doing really well, you got to be able to handle it the right way. But we believe in Desmond.
Indeed. So how about you, Jarvis? Now, that's Terry Fontenot saying he believes in Desmond. He makes a good case for why they didn't play him in that final preseason game. Does it make you feel better about the Falcons' decision not to play Des Ridder?
I'm still kind of on the same I'm on the same boat. I got to stay on the same boat because here's the thing, T. Like, it's that human being effect, right? I get the whole mental aspect of it and being able to handle certain things. They feel like he has the right demeanor for it, which I agree with him. But at the end of the day, in the back of your mind, you know for a fact that that defensive lineman can't touch you. You know for a fact that that defensive tackle can't touch you. You know for a fact that more than likely they're not going to be sending too many pressures in practice because they can't touch you. So it's hard. It's hard to mimic live ball action going to the ground, especially in today's NFL. Randy McMichael, you can go back to his era. Like, they had 2 days and they used to tackle like to the ground and all that stuff. They still couldn't quite touch the quarterback, but you still can kind of get a good view of live game action in practice. So being that he wasn't able to get that, I really feel like there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve in those first couple of series because, like, all right, now that I'm settled in, now that all that stuff that Terry Fontenot is starting to kick in, then it might be doing it, but you're not going to get that from the bat. I really feel like it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period once the game gets rolling.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I don't disagree with Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith's rationale for it. They believe in their QB1 as they should. That's why they decided, hey, we can move on from Marcus Mariota and we don't have to jump up the board this year to get a quarterback, right? And we don't have to go chasing after one who might be on his way to or was a part of the free agency class this year. So we know they're confident. I think the one thing for me is I just would have liked, and your point's well taken as far as being there to see a real defense, not just your defense for reps. But I would have loved to have seen just a little bit more opportunity for him to develop his chemistry with Kyle Pitts before an actual game, because we know the chemistry is there with Drake London, and I'm pretty darn sure it's going to be there with he's in no, let me say it this way. He's in no different position than any other quarterback would have been if any other quarterback would have gotten Mack Hollins or Scotty Miller or anyone from, that new core of wide receivers or even tight ends, if you will, Jonnu Smith included. So that piece I'm not so concerned about. That would have been the case for any quarterback, but Kyle Pitts, that's a little bit different because Dez was here last year for 4 games. Kyle was here last year, but couldn't play those 4 games, right? So that's where I think it would have been good. Just personally, I would have loved to have seen the connection points between them ahead of time so that when it comes Sunday, there's no question that, hey, if he's your first read or your second read or third read, you still know how to get the ball to KP the same way that you know how to get it to Drake. So I would have liked, it's nice to see 9-5, but 9-8 would have been nice as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think, however, that Desmond Ridder being ready or not ready is the biggest concern on offense by any stretch of the imagination. But do you feel that there's a bigger concern? And I use the term concern loosely because I don't think that we would have had this conversation even a year ago, right, Jarvis, as far as like concern or worry. No, we were concerned and there was worry, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
You can use concern kind of loosely if you do have any on that offensive side of the ball.
Well, I have to go with Matt Bergeron. Like, I think that, or Bergeron. I can't pronounce it like you do. Like, because you put that little twang on it. So I was just like, I'm gonna go with Matt Bergeron. Here we go. But yeah, he's gonna be birthed into the NFL. The first start. NFL start, full game is going down, and he didn't play that many snaps either. So, he going to get baptized a little bit too. So I think that's not, like you say, it's not overly concerned because I believe in his talent that he has. I believe in the Falcons taking it moving up in the second round of the NFL draft to draft him. I get it. I understand why they did that. So I think, but it's like you said, it's going to be an adjustment period, in those first couple of series because it's going to get real. It's going to get real because, Carolina, they might not have the best defense in the world, but they are pretty doggone strong up front. And Mr. Derrick Brown is coming. So Mr. Brown is coming. And hey, just know he's gonna get introduced into the NFL pretty quickly. So, but I think that overall he will adjust, but it's definitely gonna be an adjustment period. So, y'all better strap up.
Yeah, I would say the same. And I think for me, the concern, and I use that term loosely, I probably would call it more intrigue than anything, is to see what, as Shaquille O'Neal would call it, the others are going to do. Because I think we are pretty confident about what Drake London is going to do. And if KP comes out 100%, whether that's game 1, 2, or 3, we're pretty confident he's going to have a bounce back season. And we also know although Bijan Robinson hasn't played a regular season snap, I think we all know what he's capable of catching out of the backfield. And we know what Tyler Algier is capable of, and even Cordero Patterson, which we'll find out more information on him and whether or not he's a go come tomorrow, right? So we'll definitely bring you guys any news or updates on that front. But I'm more interested in what does the rest of that core look like, right? Like, what does Mack Hollins look like? What does Scotty Miller look like? Because if Drake London is double teamed, right? Where do you go? Like, if they're your second or third reads and Kyle Pitts is covered well, is there enough connectivity? Are those, like, is it a really good core of wide receivers when you step away from Drake London and Kyle Pitts? Like, do you still have a solid core of wide receivers? I think that might be, I won't say my concern, but I may say like my intriguing kind of head scratcher one that goes right behind what you were saying about Matthew Bergeron. Like I would say the same, very, very intrigued to see what he's going to be able to do with that Carolina defensive front. But on the same token, I think one of the maybe position groups that we haven't talked about a lot is the wide receiver room.
And I think that, and for that reason, I think it's because we've talked about positionless football, pass catchers. Like I don't like to put the name on a position. I just like, hey, those are pass catchers. Bijan, Tyler, catch the ball, Kyle Pitts, and all that stuff. But I do believe that just the talent level comes into question because Mack Hollins, he's been a solid guy. He's a guy that readily openly admits that, hey, I played on special teams on every team that I've been on since I've been in the NFL. So that kind of tells you like he wasn't necessarily a go-to guy if you're playing on special teams on the offense. So I think him being thrust into that wide receiver 2 role, I guess, you could throw that in there. And then you got Scotty Miller who played with Tom Brady. So everybody was like, oh, yeah, he played with Tom Brady. So, okay, but how does he fit into this offense? Yes. On a weekly basis. So I think that's what that is. I think you make a really good point. Like that is something to keep an eye on. Like how are these guys or the others, as Shaquille O'Neal says, how do those guys fit into this offense week in and week out? And I think that's going to be pretty fluid, to be honest with you, because Arthur Smith is a guy who's going to change things up from a weekly basis, given what he knows he's going to face. So I'm very interested to see how a guy like Hollins and Scotty Miller. I'm interested to see what the box score looks like at the end of the game on Sunday for sure.
Yeah, and it might be an opportunity for those guys to show and prove because if we're honest about it, we talk about the defensive front of the Panthers, but we don't really talk about that secondary because beyond J.C. Horn, I don't really know if there's much to talk about. So this might be an opportunity for the whole pass catcher room for the Falcons to kind of show up and show out. Just saying. But anyway, what do you guys think? I mean, do you still have those same concerns about Des Ridder not playing in that final game of the preseason? Or now that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot have both spoken on it? Or are you saying, you know what? I see their rationale. I'm good with it. Let's roll with what they said. And do you have any other concerns other than Matthew Bergeron, other than the wide receiver room or those behind KP and Drake London and even Bijan Robinson? Let us know, everydayers. You know what to do. Drop a comment in the comments section on YouTube. And of course, don't forget to download ATL Day Ones wherever you download your podcasts.
But T, this is for the culture, this intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about. Because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. T, I think Deion Prime, however you want to refer to him as, coach, he kind of took over the whole college football world over the weekend. I know I kind of say that kind of haphazardly, but that's kind of what ended up happening. And they upset the TCU Horned Frogs 45-42. Shedeur Sanders threw for 500 yards, 4 tugs. I think 4 different guys had 100 yards receiving. Like when you think about that, T, I know me. I'm rocking with Prime. I'm not too surprised. But when you think about what he was able to accomplish in his first game, coming off a season where they won 1 game and he had 86 new players on his roster, how big was that?
It was huge. I mean,
or let me say, do you believe, T?
Well, definition of believe.
Faith and belief are 2 different things, right?
Yeah, like, and I want to be cautious actually in both directions, right?
Okay.
Because if you think about it, we shouldn't be overly excited about the win as far as, oh my God, they're going to go undefeated, right? Like,
yeah, come on.
Like,
calm down.
Exactly.
Calm down.
Yeah, pipe down, people. But on the same token, I don't want people to be upset and falling out like, yeah, I told you so, if they happen to go to play Nebraska and somehow lose or, God forbid, get blown out, right? I think level set. But what I do like about it, as far as the belief piece, is so many things that Deion Sanders said that we can all use just in the everyday pantheon of life, right? Because when Deion Sanders speaks on something, like he said, you didn't make him, so you can't break him. he believes that. Like, he does
Absolutely.
not need you all to, like, he doesn't need to read your press release clippings at all, because he believes, and that's something that's infectious with the individuals around him. I can remember the last press conference he did, of course, when Jackson State lost in the Celebration Bowl, and he was devastated because he truly had those guys believing, and he truly believed that they were going to conquer this time and get that bowl. Whatever he says, even if it doesn't come to fruition, I love the fact that he goes in with the mindset, I'm winning, even if he doesn't, because that speaks volumes to the mindset that he's bringing to those players as well. And I also love the fact that, yeah, I would have liked to kind of see a balanced attack, but people needed to see what Shedeur Sanders is about.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy, I saw him play that Celebration Bowl twice, and two things. The first game, which to me was the most important, because the first half, he was rattled. South Carolina State had him rattled. Second half, Jarvis, he came back with a vengeance. And for a freshman, a true freshman, that speaks volumes. He's so poised. He's so mature. And I love the fact that he was on display. And my God, the 278 snaps that Travis Hunter played, well,
Come on, T.
man, he's something special as well. So yeah, I'm excited. I definitely believe that Deion Sanders is going to turn some heads this season at Colorado. I just caution people, like, hey, if they happen to lose against Nebraska or Colorado State or at Oregon or whomever, any of those first couple games, don't walk away saying like, oh, the first game was just a fluke. No, he's building something there.
Yeah.
Just give him an opportunity to show you, but he's building something there.
And he's going about it in his own way.
Yes.
And I think that, and that's unapologetically. Yeah. So I think that, yeah, I'm not on the whole undefeated thing, but I am here for, let's put Shedeur and Travis in the conversation for, what, that trophy.
Yeah.
They need to at least be considered to be headed to New York at some point once the season ends, especially if they continue to do this. I'm not expecting them to do this every week, but if they can consistently level out, like, there's no reason why Shedeur should be in New York at the end of the year. Yeah. So before we get out of here, though, T, we got to talk about this. Unfortunately, 2 Morehouse students were killed in a car accident on Labor Day yesterday, on the holiday. And the reason why we're talking about this is because one of those students, Hugh Douglas Jr., was the son of Hugh Douglas. And you guys, if I feel like I'm fumbling and stumbling, it's the reason why, because Hugh Douglas is a guy that would give you the shirt off his back. And that guy has done things for me that you would never believe. And he's just always been a great man.
Yes.
And for him to, when I found out this morning, T, like, I don't know if you remember that text I sent you. I was just like, T, what the heck happened? And when I heard about his son losing his life, Hugh Douglas Jr., it just put me in a really somber mood, T. Like, it just took me to a place where I was just like, I didn't think I was gonna go here today, but it's kind of here we are.
Here we are. And just so you guys know, we know we have to do a show, so we had to kind of pull ourselves together for those first 2 segments, but it was very difficult because, Hugh has been one of our super supporters from day one, back at 92.9, and still with this show. He has guest hosted on this podcast. He's guest hosted on our old podcast when both of us were going into color commentary. He was one of the guys that we picked up the phone to ask, and he never, ever turned down that call. The reason we say that is because that's the kind of energy we need to give him, right? Yeah. So you see him on social media. Everybody grieves in a different way. So I am, watching him post pictures of little Hugh. And I saw one last night and I thought to myself, like, I chuckled because I was like, oh, must be little Hugh's birthday. And, he just got back to school and he had like this amazing internship that he had talked to me about during the summer. So that's where I went. But, it's interesting. Sometimes you toss and turn at night and you don't know why. And last night I almost turned my phone over, and I was like, no, because you know how the light kind of gets you. Sometimes it startles you and you go back to sleep. So I let it go. But thank God for our other brother and friend to the show, Randy McMichael, because he happened to be on social last night. He thought the same thing as we did. Oh, he was just shouting out his son, right? But then something did not sit well with him. He woke up in the middle of the night and saw something wasn't right. He picked up the phone and called and gave our guy Hugh the opportunity to have somebody to just cry with. And that's so important, because let me tell you all something. Hugh and I have had so many conversations about the personal space. And I'll remember when he sent me a text message saying, "Oh, sis, I got something good this morning." So I get to the station and he would not tell me because he wanted me to be surprised. Yeah. He said, "Just put your headphones on." He was announcing that little Hugh chose Morehouse. You guys don't know how important that is, because he was an HBCU grad, Central State. Little Hugh's mom is an HBCU grad from FAM, and they were beaming with pride about his choice because it was his decision. And then he went to Morehouse and he absolutely stood out amongst a sea full of kings, because that's a special school that breeds some special individuals. And for him to stand out the way he did, it's just amazing. But I just love that one thing Hugh has always said is, and he says it jokingly, but if I ain't done nothing else right in this life, my kids, I've done well by. And he has. His daughter's in grad school. This son was going to go on to be unbelievably amazing. And Hugh sacrificed all the love and success he'd had in Atlanta to go back to Philly, not just because they had been begging him for years to come back on air, but because he has a 4-year-old and he wanted to be an integral part of Harper's life. So I just wanted to give him his flowers, because we're so sad that he had to lose such an amazing young man. And we also want to give our prayers, our thoughts, our love, and our light to Christian Files Jr.'s family, because they lost a king as well. And let us not forget, in the pantheon of that, let us just continue to pray and send love and light to the entirety of the Morehouse family, all of their family and friends that are affected. We love you, Hugh, boundlessly. And we are here for you, as is, I'm sure, the ATL Day One's family.
Love you, Hugh. I mean that wholeheartedly, man. I love you, man. And guys, if there's any time, better time to share and show some love, make sure you guys spread it more and more each day, because you don't know when it's going to be your last. We'll see y'all tomorrow.